What is it, like 6 a.m. over there or something?
Yeah.
That's hardcore. So good morning. Happy Wednesday. Wednesday. Yeah, because we're here. It's Wednesday. All right. Happy Wednesday. Little Corona calendar going on. Hope you guys are all doing well. We just got power and Wi-Fi back at our school. We had back-to-back storms, one the other night, and hurricane came through that wasn't supposed to come through to us. So we had a little adventure.
Yeah. Heard all about it this morning on the news.
Yeah, it was fun. It was weird because it was like sunshiny while poles were blowing down and trees were just like I was expecting to see the cow go across. You got to be a little of an age to know that movie, but yeah, it was interesting. We're in the middle of Ninja Warrior week, so it wasn't a curriculum loss for us, but we'll be back in action tonight. So we got a great topic. Speaking of hurricane energy and power loss and having to deal with things that go awry, askew, and sideways. Today we're going to talk about your focus, but we're going to compound that by focusing your focus, which sounds really weird until you realize that you can be completely laser focused but have such tight, narrow perspective that you don't realize that maybe you're focusing on the wrong things. And I would like to also take this a step further and see how we can take this out to our students, to the kids in our lives, because that's what we do as Skillz schools. We work with kids. So, John, you sent me a great picture this morning. I'm going to pop that up on the screen. It's one of my favorite quotes. My Qigong teacher used to say it all the time. Energy flows where attention goes. And we use it in our martial arts practice, where we focus is where everything's going. But right now we need this in life a little bit. So, John, how are you focusing your attention lately? Because just before the show, you were telling me how things are still a little screwy with schools and timing and everything. So how do you stay focused?
Hey, I'm not going to lie to you. Jennifer's been sending out posts every single day to the team in our team group, and it's just a little bit of like motivational quotes or motivational pictures or motivational concepts, simply because we're all in the ruts. And on Monday, Jennifer sends me an email saying, hey, you need to watch these videos. Even though I watched those videos before, it was time to just kind of like sit down and like recollect, regroup. And if you follow Chris Rodriguez, and it's not necessarily that Chris Rodriguez came up with it, but she summed it up really well in the 4 videos that she did, in terms of like mindset. You know what I mean? And I watched those videos, and it was like, this is the week. This is the week when I have to regroup myself, because we're going through so many changes. Sometimes I seriously just want to give up, put my hands up and say, just whatever, I can't deal with this anymore, because I'm no longer in control. I'm no longer able to say, you know what, I'm losing my business because of things that we've done. No, this is like the total opposite. You know what I mean? It's like you're losing your business because it's this totally out of your control. But then, we don't have to lose the business. It's all about your thought. It's all about your mind. It's all about where you're going with it. And, not to quote Master Hans, is it Hans? What was his name in the second Karate Kid? Your focus needs more focus. Okay. And nobody understood what that meant. What does it mean that focus needs more focus? I'm already focused. What more do you want me to do? It's your energy. You know what I mean? It's your vibe. It's just, you just focus more on the negative things, I guess, instead of focusing on the positive things.
Yeah, it's interesting. As you talk with a lot of people, you find that they want change in their life. And very often, trying to change habits is not easy. Otherwise, we would all be, buff and rich and have that G5 and whatever. But changing habits is really difficult. And you hear people just, sometimes they'll say like, I'm not strong enough to be able to do that. Especially, in our adult program, sometimes we deal with people who are like in abusive relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And, while it's not really my place to, be a marriage counselor, I do counsel them. If the situation is not good, get out of it.
Yep.
So one of the things that they say is, well, I want to stand up to that person, or, workplace bullying. I want to stand up to that person, but I'm just not strong enough. And usually what happens is that person is actually very strong, but they're strong in a way that they turn it on themselves to, change their own behaviors outside of their nature to fit somebody else's mold. So you're very strong, but your focus is on changing you instead of changing whatever it is that doesn't fit your life and your vision.
Yep.
And that's where, focusing your focus becomes really important. They're so strong in the wrong direction. If they took that strength, and that's part of what we coach them, to asserting their will in other areas of their life instead of on themselves, a lot of positive change starts to happen, and then it snowballs. It's that same flywheel that we always talk about, and Elliot always talks about.
Absolutely. And I think, what's happening right now is we're taking on a lot of negativity. We're taking on a lot of what I'm going to call our emotional cup is being flowing with a lot of negative energy around us versus being like pouring in a lot of positive energy around us. So it's like who you're surrounding yourselves with, who's in your life that's going to help you step up the game, who's going to really stand right there next to you and say, hey, wake up. It's not you. You know what I mean? It's not you. It's what's happening around us. You've got parents who are absolutely mad and upset and they're pissed off at you. They're really not upset with you.
Yeah, it's like they're just, a child gets angry with you. You're the safe person.
Yeah.
That's why they're upset with you.
Yep. So
Darren has down here, focus on what you can control, not what you cannot. And that's really important in all this too. So John and I, just before the show, we're talking, and when Corona hit, look, Corona budget was real. Junk food, can't afford it anymore. Eating out, couldn't afford it anymore. Big bottles of my favorite rum, can't afford it anymore. Although I'll send you an address if you want to send me a bottle. All these things were cut out, and it would have been very easy to say, oh, my life is so miserable because I can't do the things that I enjoy right now. Instead, we focused on what I could control, which at that point was my mindset. And when those things got cut out, while everybody else was putting on weight, I lost 25 pounds because I, was forced to take some of those things out. Mm-hmm. So what we did was, as things turned back around and maybe we had a little bit of disposable income again, we didn't go back to those habits. And I said, well, if I'm going to do this, let's do this. And we actually buckled down harder than we needed to and turned it into a whole, health revolution within our family, that if we can't go out to eat and we can't drink all this alcohol, we can't have ice cream, a couple times a week, we may as well just focus on the thing I can, which is our health. And we became so much more healthy over the course of it, instead of just complaining about it. We focused on the right things, the thing that I could have control over.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of that, I put out a challenge yesterday because you guys know I do health and wellness coaching. And I put out a challenge yesterday. Hold on, let me pull it up because I don't want to miss saying it. Body under construction, mind on a mission. Okay. So, I've been doing the health and wellness for a while, and, I dropped the weight that I wanted to drop, and I've been fluctuating up and down, up and down, up and down. But during the pandemic and in the last few weeks, we've got some new clients coming in, and I'm like, you know what? Hey, I gained, about 5 to 7 pounds You know what? I'll get back on it with you. Let's do it together. Okay. So that way they don't feel like they're getting on the plane by themselves. They don't feel like they're going to go through, a new system by themselves. Okay. So the fact that I'm letting them know I'm out there with you, right? I'm going to do that challenge with you. Okay. I'm going to reconstruct my body, but my mission, okay, is going to start with my mind. You know what I mean? Like, don't just talk about it. Don't just think about it. Actually do it. You know what I mean? And that makes a huge difference in terms of energy, right? Because if you know that you're going to get on this plane, right? But I'm going to be right next to you, coaching you and doing it with you, how are you going to feel, right? It's kind of like standing in front of your students in the studio and you're teaching them their form, their kata, their tool, whatever you guys call it, right? And you're telling him what to do. The question is he going to do it? And is he going to do it to your expectation, right? Versus standing right next to him and doing the move with him. You know what I mean? Like, how is that?
It's important to have like somebody with you, whether it's a workout buddy or a coach, a life coach, an instructor, or even just a friend. It serves a couple purposes. So first, anytime we have an accountability partner, we're more likely to succeed in what we're doing. And we already know that. We've talked about that before. But I think what also happens is, humans are tribal creatures. We're herd creatures.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is when you have somebody not just, giving you directions and saying, oh, when you get to Farmer Jones's three-legged cow, you went too far, come back a little bit. But actually walking there with you, it becomes easier for you to recognize when the two of you are walking together and then all of a sudden you start drifting from where that person is taking you. It's easier to realize that you're off track. And it's not just fitness goals or even business goals. Things like your self-talk.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that drives me batty, and I know I even do it myself, is when people have really negative self-talk. And it's important for you to have people around you. We've talked about that concept of you become most like the 5 people that you spend the most amount of time with. It's important to have people who are going to correct you, not just pat you on the back and make you feel good when you say like, oh, I suck. No, you don't suck. But to actually correct you and say, that's negative self-talk and that's not healthy for you. So just to put the little science in it, in your brain, because this is what Skillz does, right? In your brain, you have this system called the reticular activating system. And it's a small part of your brain, some interconnected parts, and it regulates a lot of things like breathing and emotion and all that good stuff. But the thing that it does is it brings your reality in line with your thoughts to make sure that you're not living in some sort of paradox. And what happens is it can't tell the difference between mindful thought and tactile reality. So this is why there have been studies done where athletes who have been injured or people who have been paralyzed on half of their body, they do mindful visualizations of exercise and their bodies respond by growing muscle mass because this part of your brain can't tell the difference between thought and reality. So it thinks you're actually working out. It works against you, however, when words come out of your mouth that say, I suck, and they come back in, and your reticular activating system hears it. And it recognizes that you're saying it and that it's your voice. And what happens is it says, well, this is my reality. And then it influences the other parts of your brain to make that come true. The same way it influenced the body to grow that muscle mass. If you say you suck, every action that you have, that reticular activating system is finding ways to make you suck because that's what you told it that you do. Mm-hmm. When you change that to, I am a person who accomplishes success. I am a person who has clarity in my vision. I am a person who, gets stuff done, and say it out loud and believe it. Same thing happens. Now your reticular activating system finds ways to make that happen. So having somebody around you that when you say, oh man, everything is horrible right now, just like when you believe 1111 is a powerful make-a-wish number, you're going to see it all the time. If everything is horrible right now and you say that, guess what you're going to see every day in your life? Everything is horrible. You know, if you say, have somebody that says, is everything really horrible? What's something good that's happened today? Oh, well, I got a surprise phone call from, my mom, or, my sister stopped by and brought me cupcakes, or, something is pretty good. It resets that mindset to focus on those good things. And when you look for good things, guess what? You see more good things. Yep. So it's really powerful to have somebody in your life like that.
And at the same time, having that person in your life is going to tell you the absolute truth, right? But it's in the way that it's said that will uplift you. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to tell you, oh, you know what, Michael, you're looking good. When in actuality, in the back of my head, I'm going, oh my God, you've gained so much weight, right? So no, that's not going to be the way. Okay. It's going to be, hey dude, how's life? What's going on? What's stressing you? I'm not saying that you gained weight, right?
Oh my God, you're so fat. What happened?
Yeah,
exactly. That's the result.
Exactly. Versus me saying, oh my God, you gained weight. I'm going to say, hey, what's stressing you? You look like you're stressed. Oh, can you tell? I sense vibes. And it's not so much of me saying like, what's the word? Me saying that you've gained weight. I'm just simply saying, I noticed some changes that has happened with Michael that I'm trying to point it out in a nice way. And that's what a true coach or a true friend will do.
Yeah, and I like how you phrase that by asking me what's going on. We know from sales that people don't argue with their own information. So if you can get me to bring it out of my own mouth, first of all, it's far more tactful. It's going to make me feel a little more at ease and know that you're there for me. But it's also the way that you asked it is not just, wow, what's going on that you gained so much weight? Because that focuses on the result of what's wrong.
Sure.
Instead of helping me to find the core where you say, what's stressing me? Oh my God, coronavirus, I lost a third of my students, and, I'm eating my way through my EIDL loan, and I didn't qualify for the PPP, and wow. And his next question might be something like, so how are you dealing with that? And like, I don't know, man. I just sitting around on the couch and, I have a drink every night and it settles my nerves. And that might lead into that conversation of, well, okay, what other way can we deal with this? And it really helps me get back on track and focus my focus, instead of focusing on problems, focusing on how it's affecting me, which allows me to get back to Darren's point of then focusing on the things I can control.
Absolutely.
So this is really good for us, as the leaders in our businesses and our schools. And, I know a lot of you do coaching outside of your school, whether it's mentorship or, working with boys and girls clubs or business leadership. It's important for us to serve as the leader and really stay focused on the right things. And I think we have a pretty good grasp on it. If we look at our members, particularly the kids, I think this becomes really important, far more than, well, how am I going to teach sparring when we have to social distance? How am I going to do self-defense if I have to wear a mask? I think far more important than that is giving our students these tools, helping them find the roots of their problems, or seeing, is it even really a problem? As you look at like stage of development of 10 to 14-year-olds, look, teenagers will find a problem with everything if you let them. Oh, well, I couldn't do that because he did this, and just everything is horrible, and oh, woe is me, and that's why I couldn't get up off the couch and get myself a drink. The smallest things become these huge problems. So as we look at students, what are, first of all, some of the common challenges that you're seeing in your students right now that might be focus based? I mean, I know they have legit problems going on right now and emotional issues from being, socially distanced and everything. But what are some of like the focus problems that you're seeing in your students?
I think for them, they're just, and I don't want to bring this up because it's a very sensitive subject, but it seems like um, the parents at this moment, they're so fed up with everything that's happening. And even though the parents are constantly complaining about the digital left and right, they're allowing their kids to be on their digital um, devices a lot of times, that by the time they make it to your class or by the time they come, whether it's virtual or in person, they're like, they can't, like their energy, you can tell that they need this buzz, or they need this quick fix, or they need this what's the word, extra focus.
They're e-tweaking.
Yeah, they're like,
Wow, I just claimed that. That's copyright Mike Evans 2020.
They're just having a hard time being laser focused on you as they normally were, because they're just everywhere. They need that instant gratification right now. And if you correct them, it's like, but I'm doing it right. And right now, me personally, what I'm doing right now is I'm walking around and doing videos. And I'm doing a video before I make a correction, right? Because they know we go in the studio, we take pictures and videos every single week, no matter what. Whether we post them or don't post them, we're just doing it, right? And then as I'm done with the video, guys, we need to fix our sidekick. All right. Or guys, we need to fix our punch, or Michael, can you show me that sidekick one more time? And then boom, that sidekick comes out super clean. So Michael, why didn't you do that in a minute ago? I did. I'm like, Michael, look, who's that? That's me. Is that your kick?
That's my evil.
Yeah, that wasn't a good kick. I was like, yeah, because you just weren't, laser focused on Michael at the moment. Let's turn it back around. I love how you just gave me this sidekick right now. So yes, maybe from prompting, the good behavior, or maybe from prompting the intrinsic motivation at that moment, he kind of got to see both Michaels. You know what I mean?
It's interesting because these are challenges that kids have in the best of times. Last year, this time, before we had coronavirus or anything else, last year, this time, parents were complaining about kids being online all the time. Kids were in class thinking they were throwing good sidekicks, and they really weren't. It's just that things, I think, right now are a little exacerbated because everything is online right now.
Yep.
And it's not like you can take away devices because they need it for school. They need it for camp. They need it for, talking to their friends. They need it for the social interaction. It's the only way they're getting it. So, using that example, it's just that, all right, first of all, for the parents, let's not focus on the problem. Let's focus on healthy ways that we can help the kids recognize these signs and symptoms of what's going on and give them some tools. I love the video in class and that's a perfect example of focusing your focus. Kid thinks and I video myself all the time, especially when I was competing still. Man, I was on video every day. Because sometimes what you think you're doing isn't what you're doing. You're throwing that hard sidekick and you feel it impacting that bag and you're like, that's an awesome sidekick. And then you look at it and you realize, wow, your supporting foot was not placed the right way.
Yeah.
Your linear motion was a little more of a swing than it should have been. Your toes weren't dropped down and pulled back. So even though you felt the heel, you were hitting the whole foot. And then you start looking at it, you're like, man, that's a horrible sidekick. Because you don't recognize what's going on because you're focused on how much power you can get into it. Or vice versa, you're focused on how good can I make it look.
Yeah.
Getting that up sidekick is so powerful.
Yep.
So that's a great using technology, even though it's the devil. Using technology in healthy ways helps us refocus from it's the devil to, oh, wow, I never thought to use it that way to actually help my student focus a little better. And kids love seeing themselves on video to begin with. So it really makes it a powerful experience.
I only do this with my competition team. I don't say it out loud in regular classes. Like in your situation, I would say, Michael, did you feel like Bruce Lee right now? And they're like, yeah, it felt great. I was like, guess what, Michael? You were still Michael. What? Yeah, you forgot to pivot and you forgot to load. And they're like, ah. So, a lot of times I tell them, don't think like you're Bruce Lee or Jackie Chan, because Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan is Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan. You're Michael, right? So you need to better Michael. And when they do watch the video, before I tell them the corrections on the video, I have them watch the video and pick out at least one correction. If they can pick one correction, hey, then I know I will be a step ahead as an instructor. And if every single week we get one, maybe out of the 4 things they need to work on, then hey, we're going to get ahead in a month. Like 4 corrections at once for a child or for even an adult, they're not going to fix it all at once.
Yeah, that's too much. So here's another thing is how many instructors are frustrated because their students don't practice as much as they should or like they should. Even in class, when you teach a technique and you say, okay, now go over there and practice it. Or you say, all right, between this class and next class, I want you to practice your technique or practice your form. And then you look over 30 seconds later and they're looking around. And you say, I told you to practice. And what's their response?
I did.
And then usually what you say is something like, well, did you get it perfect? Yeah. So, one of the things is helping them focus on the right things, in that practice doesn't just mean go over there and do it 100 times. Practice means do it mindfully. And like John said, pick one thing. And it doesn't have to be on video. We've all thrown a sidekick. Even like now, I've been training for long enough. Every now and then you throw a sidekick, you miss the bag. It just happens, especially if you're focused on teaching a class, you're talking over here, you thought the bag, you just miss. All right, stop. What went wrong? How can I do it better? This is practice, and helping the kids focus on one thing that they can fix versus just go over there and do it 100 times. If you do it 100 times wrong, guess what? Now you're really good at doing it wrong. Helping them focus their focus not on repetition, but on mindful correction is going to be really powerful. And in turn, it takes away your instructor frustration. You've changed your focus from, what are you doing over there staring at the wall, to, wow, I see how you are now taking one thing at a time and making it better and better and better.
I like that a comment that Tim posted.
So Tim, how old are they? It's a Skillz program, man. We got to know. Because different kids will be differently motivated based on their stage of development.
Yeah, lucky for us, we have a work and reward system in every single class. And I'll mention it once we find out the age.
So, and just for those of you that are watching on phones, if that's too small, Tim's question is, what do you do about a kid who just never tries in class and you can't get him motivated? So I know there's a little delay on what we're talking about by the time you get to it. So
9 years old. Oh, perfect.
All right. So at 9 years old, there's a couple things that can be happening here. And we don't know him, so we're just speaking based on some assumptions. At 9 years old, turning 10, so close to 10, he could be ahead of his stage of development. At around 10 years old, kids go from being really strong adolescents and their bodies start shutting down a little bit, their brains start rewiring, and everything goes to growth, which means that anything else gets put on the back burner. Their intensity drops, their desire to try hard drops, because they're just exhausted from doing all these things. Now, that's one possibility. We don't know this child, so we don't know if that's it. Another thing is, if he's below his intellectual stage of development, more towards like the 8-year-old core skills, you can't motivate them. They are very self-motivated, intrinsically motivated. If they believe they can do it, they will do it. If they do not believe they can do it, they won't do it. And nothing you say or do will change it. That said, you can change their intrinsic motivation and you can change their self-talk, that reticular activating system. So by helping them connect to what is important and how it will help them, instead of, dude, you got to be stronger with your sidekick, something more like, man, if you had a really strong sidekick, you'd be the awesomest ninja around. It's like putting the onions in the meatloaf kind of thing. John, what else would you give him?
So, at this point, depending on which level he's at, right? Like if his IQ level is absolutely high, he could be looking at it like, this is easy. I don't feel like doing it because, I know how to do it already. I need something harder or stronger, right? So again, because we don't know the child, it's hard to tell. However, what we tend to do a lot with our students is, Michael, loving that kick, bro. That's awesome. Hey, see me at the end of class because, you've got whatever you want to give out for the day, whether it's candy, treasure box, or whatever. And we do that across all the classes except extreme. Extreme, we tend to do more like, dude, that was a good sidekick. I bet you can't do it again. Now, here's the deal. If you do it again really good, I will do the 5 push-ups. With teens, it's like
they love seeing you.
Oh my God, they love seeing us in pain. Or, dude, if you do it really good, I will get a board out and I want to see you breaking it on that board. Okay. Now they love things that's going to be like breaking, crashing, especially with the teens. With the, early basic and core, they like the treasure box, candy, stickers, ideas. And we got a bunch of ninja stickers. And at the end of class, if they do really good, Michael, that was really good. You got a ninja today. And they collect all the ninjas. And the ones that collect the most ninjas can trade them in for something else.
The other thing I would say here is, what's their reason for not trying? I mean, we can guess, and even you knowing him can guess till you're blue in the face. Yep. What's their reason for not trying? It becomes very helpful to, first of all, observe what's their self-talk when you say, dude, you need to work a little harder. Let me pop this up because that's good info. When I say he has a learning disability, parents refuse to accept it or tell me he wants him to be in extreme skills class with the kids his age. I have a yellow belt, better than him. All right, so first of all, don't ever compare to another. No. Ever.
No comparison. I don't care who it is. Don't ever do that.
Yeah. Okay. So it may be that he's bored, and even with a learning disability, learning disability doesn't mean they're not aware of their learning disability. So it could very well be that he's bored. So, and especially at 9 turning 10, it's time to set some objective goals to be moving him up. And one of those goals might be, dude, I want to see 3 classes in a row where you give me good energy.
Also, with everything that's happening right now with the pandemic, because he may be having disability, he might be having some social anxiety.
Sure.
So with that, he's going to have a hard time really expressing himself or really showing his techniques because he regressed. A lot of I'll give you an example. We have a kid who is came in Asperger's. When he first came in, the first 3 months we did private classes. He moved into the group class. Because of the pandemic, he was home, didn't do anything at home at all for 3 months. When he came back in, guess what we had to do again? And it wasn't because of we didn't want to do the group class. It was like, you know what, Michael, what's going to be best for your son today is put him back into the private classes, 2 15-minute private classes a week for the next month. Simply because I don't want to set him up into the social awkwardness because he does have social awkwardness. So
and that brings up a self-fulfilling prophecy also of saying that, like, knows he has a learning disability, even if it's not diagnosed, even if it's just borderline and it's not a diagnosable disability, he knows he's maybe a little socially awkward, and that brings in the emotional fear-based, and this is very common for that age. Well, I know I'm not going to do it well, so I'm not even going to try, because that's not a failure. It's just me
Yes.
choosing. It's him being really strong against himself, saying the only way I feel I have control is to say I'm not going to try, because if I try, I'll probably fail. So that's very common at that age to begin with, disability or none.
So let's just take it from a normal person perspective, right? Say you and I have not had the chance to talk or visit with each other for a year or two, and a situation arises where we finally get together, right? And we're gonna finally talk and see each other in person. There is gonna be the sense of anxiety anyway, a sense of just like, whoa, we really haven't talked in a while.
School reunion.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So absolutely, you nailed it. Like the high school reunion every 10 years. Some of us still talk to our friends, but some of us haven't talked to the others in a while, right? So there is that sense of awkwardness or that sense of shyness. So imagine with these kids who have been like either doing Zoom classes or haven't done classes at all, coming back in the studio, and now like it's like, what? Really? I have to deal with these people again? But you know them. They're your friends. You've met them before. Sure. But in the back of their head, it's kind of like, oh, I'm anxious.
And just to talk a little bit about comparing students. So first of all, he's been with you for 4 years, but he hasn't been a Skillz student for 4 years, right? You've only been a Skillz school for a little while now. So in the old ways, a red belt should be a red belt, a yellow belt should be a yellow belt, and there should be a certain standard. With Skillz, belts are just acknowledgments of advancement. They have nothing to do really with martial arts. They have to do with an individual's advancement. And it's unfair. What's that Einstein quote about everybody's a genius, but you'll never see it if you judge them on judge a fish on his ability to climb a tree, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
His state in life is not the same as mine. It's not the same as ours. So, very often we look at ourselves as the landmark, the guiding feature of what it should be. We are anomalies. You do not get to be a 6th degree black belt, running a school. And is that Brooklyn's nose?
It is Brooklyn.
You don't get to be where we are by being good or average or below average or severely challenged. We're the anomaly, so it's unfair to judge them against our expectations of what things should be.
Sure.
Especially when working with children. In Skillz is a childhood development program. All I care about is that they showed me some progress today versus who and how they were yesterday. That's it. So I have people who have gone even through very high levels in elite that would have a white belt in a traditional martial arts program. That's their level of skill. However, their development, their personal journey was very different. I have a similar student who we're fairly sure is somewhere on the autism spectrum. He has most of the hallmarks of, the classic things that you would expect from a child on the spectrum. The parents, though, not to be stereotypical, but one of them is really old school Italian, and one of them is really old school Asian, first generation. So their mindset is one of just push him harder, he'll be fine. Now, to be fair, I'm Italian, so it's not to be stereotypical, but we know that mindset of like the first generation people that tend to come over isn't one of nurturing. It's one of, we're here, we have to work. And, it's a very powerful mindset. It doesn't always work in the nurturing of the children, especially when you come from countries that don't have the services that we have available, or that still have stigmas attached to some of these things. So we know he's somewhere on the spectrum. He's 15 years old now. The parents will not test him. They refuse to admit anything. They don't even admit. We finally found out that the school gives him some special services. The family won't admit that. And he goes to them. He will never be, I don't want to say never. It will be very hard for him to be an international competitor like I was. It will be very hard for him to run a school like I do. It will be very hard for him to be a community leader like some of my other students are. However, he's one of the students that I am most proud of because every day he takes one little thing and makes it a little better. Even if it's just that he tied his shoes that day, because these are some of the physical challenges that he has, this fine motor skills. So that's why we don't want to judge one student against another. Now, as far as helping your student, as you can see, there are tons of reasons why things may be going on, and it may even be out of your control. As you said, the parents don't want to acknowledge it. You get the child for an hour or two a week. You can only have the impact that you can have if the parents aren't also fostering, a positive environment that's going to keep him moving forward. So that's where you now may have had a very different discussion bringing that student on board through your skills evaluation. You'd have learned more about that student ahead of time. You've learned more about the parent relationship ahead of time. You'd have learned a little more about what you need to provide that student before they ever stepped on the mat. Unfortunately, hindsight isn't 2020 for you in this case.
Well, so let's just kind of like pull back a little bit and talk about the main thing of the program, right? Are we focusing on his lack of ability, or are we focusing on what he's capable of doing? So,
just real quick, if you want to go back and look, we did a video, I guess about a month and a half ago on strength switching.
Yes. And like right now, the energy is going towards the lack of ability or the lack of motivation. Like, because now every single time you see that student, back your head, you're going, right? Versus, okay, I understand what he's going through. Okay. So therefore, what I'm going to do is, instead of me focusing 100% on what he's not capable of doing, because I mean, again, Skillz foundation is skill-based training, not technique-based training. So what are we focusing on here? Is it the skill or is it the technique, right? And if I know that he's really good at one skill, why don't you prompt that? Why don't you pay attention to that? Because now you're giving him constant positive affirmation that he's doing something good versus, he doesn't think that he wants to be in class. Well, I give up. I'm done.
So I mean, that's a very good thing. Like, if he doesn't want to be there, it becomes really hard to teach them.
Absolutely.
So now your focus, so here's where you change your focus, is not on how do you make them a good martial artist or student, it's how do you get them to want to be there.
Yeah.
So if that's the problem, that insight that you just had is probably your key. And
absolutely,
it may not be something that you have control over. But if you can make him feel good about being there. Like, when was the last time, and we all have those students that are really challenging, and I know you're not supposed to have favorites, and I know you're not supposed to have kids that are not your favorite, but we all have the student, it's human nature, that when they walk in, you smile, and on the inside you're going, oh man, they're here. What makes you a good instructor is that you put that aside and move forward anyway. Next time you see him, think about this. When was the last time that he walked in and you said, Bobby, I am so happy that you're here today. I was just thinking about you here before, and I saw you walk in the door just now, and it really brought a smile to my face. I'll see you in a couple minutes on the training floor.
Yep.
Has nothing to do with martial arts.
He said, no lie, his parents make him come. Okay, I understand that. At the same time, let's dig deeper and find out, why are his parents making him come? Is it that he was doing something prior to coming in that he didn't want to leave? Is it, what's the reason? What is it? So maybe this would be a good conversation to have with the parents in terms of the way you feel and the way he performs, I guess.
And to be fair, I wish that every single one of the parents of every single one of my students made them come.
Yeah.
So that could be a positive too. You know, when you think about it, how many times have you had the parent of a 3-year-old say, well, they didn't want to come today, and we don't like making them do things that they don't want to do. So we just want him to be able to quit anything ever, whenever he wants. And what you know to be true is everybody always wants to quit everything, but it's getting past that makes you successful. You know, so having conversations with the parents might help. I know not all parents are as receptive as we want them to be. So, you know, there's, you know, we don't know these people, so we're speaking very generally. But also finding out, like John said, what are the root reasons that they want their child there? If it's just that, look, you take care of our kid for an hour so we can go next door to the bar and get a couple drinks, and we're going to teach him and fix all his problems and change his complete. All right. This is where you start having those conversations where I don't think our program is what you need, and it might not be appropriate. But if you can really get to the root of, you know, hey, we really are struggling at home to help him. We're having the same challenges that you're having. And if you can really make a connection there somehow, you might be able to extend your skills methods on the training floor at home. You know, so
Wait,
there's a lot of variables here.
isn't there a blog?
I'm sure there is.
I think there is a blog that talks about parents and kids.
What to do when your kid wants to quit? That blog?
Yes.
There
Yes.
is.
And that blog is it's really long, you guys. So it's one of those things where you maybe want to like take the tips out of that. I actually took it and I did it over a week. You know, ways. Hey parents, ways helping your child not to quit martial arts or something like that. And we did it as daily tips. At the same time, go into parent skills heavily, Tim, and maybe tag some parents on Facebook. And if those parents are on Facebook, tag them in it. You know, just ways that you can have them read that information without you speaking or saying so much. Okay. But that really helped us out, you know, last year. Actually, we put that blog out almost like quarterly inside of our parents group. And simply because you always have new parents in the group, but sometimes, you know, Michael might say, I read this one before, but then it might be another 6-7 months and you might go, wait, let me read that. I'm going through this right now.
Yeah, I mean, much like a Facebook post, like guys, just a really quick tip, a Facebook post has a 4-hour lifespan.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I go back and I check that memories feature when I have nothing to post, and I post stuff again, word for word, from like a year ago or 2 years ago. Same thing with blogs. Not everybody saw your blog when you originally posted it, and not everybody dug through your website to go find it. So, you know, reposting blogs regularly is fine. I'm digging around on my website now trying to find that blog.
I know, me too.
Let's see. I got one quick little tip. I don't want to get too distracted by it. I don't want to focus on the wrong things. Benefits, rude, skills based. I'll find it. I know it's somewhere.
Yeah, it's there.
I don't think it uses the word quit, or maybe it's stop training. I'll find it. One of us will find it and post it here in the stream. You know, and as always, if it's something that we've done, feel free to you know, share that around. Is this it? No, that's teens. We'll find it.
Yeah, we'll find it. The thing is, I know what the picture looks like and everything too.
Yeah. So as we go through all of this, you know, our goal is always to be interacting and talking with our people. Things like using a life skills program, redirecting our students when we hear them say they can't. Can't is the one word they are not allowed to say in my school. In my older classes, now I know this is going to ruffle some feathers. In my older classes, if somebody drops a potty word and they used it correctly, I have less of a problem with it. Now, they will get counseled about appropriate times to use such words, but I'm not going to jump ugly on them because they were expressing themselves powerfully. Now, if they say the word can't, they get jumped ugly on because that word is not allowed, in our school because of that negative self-talk that happens and the reinforcement that happens.
Yep.
We also want to make sure that we are reinforcing their positive image by praising them using labeled praise. If I can not just say, hey, good job, but if I can praise what they did that made it a good job, hey, good job on throwing a good sidekick. If I could take that further by praising the effort behind it, hey, I love how hard you worked to get that great sidekick. And if I can praise even the character trait behind that effort, wow, I love how hard you worked to get that great sidekick. That shows me that you're a person who has discipline or perseverance or whatever we're trying to cultivate. It starts to create a self-image that, again, their reticular activating system believes, and you will see more of it. It is not a quick switch. This can take years of working with somebody to make that change happen.
Okay, it is mindful tips to use when kids don't want to attend classes.
There we go.
Yep. And this is a very long blog. You can actually make a good week out of it.
Oh, you know what? I think that was on my old blog, my old website, because I don't have it on the new one. All right. I know what you're doing.
For people who are in the free tips group, it's probably in there.
I mean, poke around. There's a lot of good, even if you strength switch it and do the things about, tips for how to support your child in class, because if we can do it before they want to quit, even better. I know I have one from, I reprinted with permission from Pride Martial Arts. So if you go on my website, there's 6 tips for how to support your child in class. I would not say don't take that and copy it because that was somebody else's material. And I wrote to them and got permission to repost it. So, if you want, I'm sure you could probably do the same. Also helping them focus is being part of their lives beyond just martial arts. We talked a little bit about this, I think, on Monday's Gold members call. But it's not just when they come to class, you focus on them. It is, I stalk everybody's Facebook page, LinkedIn page, Twitter page, Instagram feed, because I want to know what's going on in my kids' lives. And if they win an award for citizenship, I'm complimenting them the next time they see me. And they're going to say, well, how did you know? But because I focus on you, because you're very important to me and your success is important to me. And I want you to know that I'm very proud of you for focusing on the things that were important to help you get that award. So letting them see that their ability to focus is also important to you. You're an amazing role model because you are not, I think we talked about it last week, you're not the authority figure. You're a mentor to them. Someone a little bit closer than an authority figure. You're not insulated and separate from them. So I think that's very important. And also to call them out when you see something going wrong. Mom calls you and says, hey, little Johnny's grades are slipping in school. Now we can use John's tactic from before. So, little Johnny, what's going on? What's happening in school? What's happening in your life? And seeing if there's any changes, especially if there's a sudden change. This becomes really important because when there are sudden changes in behaviors or results, something happens. And we want to make sure that it's, all right, this is going to sound wrong, We want to make sure that it's something like they're struggling with the death of their guinea pig, not, hey, weird Uncle Al stayed over for a weekend and all of a sudden my life changed, right? So you become a really good sounding board for assessing what's going on in a child's life and helping them focus on, instead of, I'll get in trouble if I tell about weird Uncle Al, to something happened that I'm not comfortable with and I need somebody on my team to help discuss it. So you become a really good sounding board for that. In Skillz, is it okay for some students not to make their scheduled testing date due? So testing doesn't mean everybody gets a new belt. If they don't have the development, they're not ready to test. Now that also means, why are they not ready? So comprehension of the material. If you're focusing on the material, you're still looking a little bit backwards. There are students in my school who will never learn the entire form. They have had traumatic brain injury. They've had tumors removed. The sections of their brains aren't there. So to look at, does the child have the material, is useful as an assessment tool for where they are, but it's not useful as a cut and dried metric of development. It's, what is the material trying to teach? So if it's, do they have all the forms? Well, no, some of these children in my school will never have all the forms. Are they, though, focused on their ability to concentrate? Are they focused, even if they'll never get it, are they concentrating a little harder? Their versatility. Are they learning new ways to practice? Are they learning new ways to express the pieces of the form that they do know? Then yes, I will promote them. So I'm not going to hold them back if that's their challenge, especially talking about somebody with learning disability or physical disability. This is where, when you get into the educational aspect, this is one of the problems I think with Common Core, is that they lump everybody together and say, this is the way you will think about things. Because Common Core, one thing I do like about it is that it teaches you ways to think, not just memorize these problems. But I don't like that it lumps everybody together. 50% of your kids are going to be in the middle of the bell curve and they're going to do wonderfully with everything that you teach them. 25% of your kids, you'll show it to them once and they'll be amazing and you're going to wish everybody could be like them. 25% of the kids that you take will need something similar to an IEP, an independent education program, where you are modifying the curriculum to fit their needs, not trying to modify them to fit the curriculum. And this really does sound like a case of that, where, and
repeat that one more time.
You can't just say, well, I'm going to make it easier for this student. You still have to have objective measures.
Yep.
You have to make your curriculum fit the needs of your student. And if that's beyond your ability, that's okay, because you can't do that for 100 different kids, especially, Tim, I know that right now you're just hiring your next instructor. That could be challenging for a one-man show. That's where you have those conversations where if that child is not within your ability to modify a little bit, you're not the best fit for their needs. So it's a lot of work. Even with Skillz. Skillz is a plug-and-play program, but that doesn't mean it's a plug-and-play program. The goal is to turn you into an educator, not just a replicator. And you're making strides, by the way. So don't get negative self-talk about, well, you're not there yet, because you're getting there. And every time we talk, you get a little bit better. You look thoughtful, John.
I am trying to find, and I don't want to misquote it, but if you can't teach, if the children cannot learn the way you're teaching, you need to teach them the way they need to. I can't remember it, but it's.
Yeah. I want to say that was Piaget, but I could be wrong. So yeah, that's it. Like, one of the failings of mass education is that we have to have a system of teaching. And that's why some kids struggle. They just don't learn the way that everybody teaches. And that's why we have independent learning or special education. So, Rich, I'm gonna switch this on you, because I used to do this. Rich says, talking about using the word can't. I always tell them to add the word yet, if they say can't. So I can't throw that 540 kick is different than I can't throw that 540 kick yet. It's still a negative. What I like to have them do is say, in order to throw this 540 kick, I need to develop this or work on this or build this school. So it sets up a positive. If we go back to that, the reticular activating system, it doesn't understand negatives. So this is why when you do like hypnosis or guided meditation, they will never tell you, I don't smoke, or you don't smoke, or you are going to stop smoking, because those are negative statements. You have to replace it with another positive. Every time I feel like smoking, I'm going to drink a glass of water instead. And it creates a forward action plan. So try that. Instead of having them say yet, stop them and say, okay, what are the steps that you need to take for you to be able to do that? Now they create a positive mind stream of, well, I need to be able to jump a little higher, or I need to be able to be a little stronger. I need to work on my flexibility. And then you can take them to the next step. What are the things that you need to do to jump higher, work your flexibility? And you keep working that until you get to something that is immediately actionable. I need to be a little more flexible. Okay, so let's stop working on the 540 split kick and let's spend a little time working on your active flexibility, because we know that that will help you get there. And now they've had a win instead of just a, well, I'm not there yet, which is still it's a mediocre expression from them. Not what I want to hear from my students.
Okay, so if a child can't learn the way we teach, maybe we should teach the way they learn. So, pretty much what I don't, yeah, you were right. I can't say it.
Jacques Piaget?
Yes.
Yeah.
No. Well, Estrada is the last name.
Oh, I don't know who that is.
I mean, it could be multiple people mentioned it.
Yeah.
But the point behind it is this: as you're watching your students grow, and you're trying to do something, but they're not picking up on it, stop repeating yourself because it's not helping, right? Start by looking at what they're able to do and the lack of capabilities, and maybe enhance that based on how they learn it. But we do that a lot in the studio. Like a lot of times I'll see my team, no, you need to do it this way. And I'm like, no. Don't tell them the way you think they need to do it. Figure out what they're missing, what they're lacking, and then enhance the missing piece.
That's it. I mean, if you look at Skillz, it is first and foremost a childhood development program. We have varying levels of martial arts inclusion within that as our tool. Our goal is not to create wonderful martial artists, it's to create wonderful people who are the best they can be. Once we achieve that, now we turn them into martial artists. That's later. So I can always go back, and once I've given them the learning tools, once I've met them where they were and given them the skills with an S to be proficient in learning and in challenging themselves and in being resilient, now it's a really, really simple thing to say, hey man, let me show you this cool kick. And they already have all the things there to make them successful. You're just showing them now an expression of it. So don't worry about making them fit things too quickly. You've got years with these students if you're doing it right. Some of my students have been with me for 20 years. Now is when I'm actually turning them into having mastery of the martial arts. They don't need 20 years to become proficient in being a martial artist, but to master these skills, to master the lessons, we've got lifetimes. We don't have to rush. All right. I forgot to focus on the time because we were focusing on being focused, and we were a little bit over. So I apologize for that, everybody, but great conversations, great input, great questions. Thank you all for participating. You guys are our guide. So when you are interactive, it does help us focus more on your needs. See what I did there? So we're going to leave it here. thank you guys for participating. If you have any questions about this, or like Tim had a specific challenge, if you guys want to reach out to us, you know how to get us. If you're Skillz members, you have lots of access to us. So feel free. Make sure that you guys are keeping an eye on MegaCon. If you are coming to that, it is going on. October 1st is VIP day.
Yes.
2nd and 3rd will be the MegaCon. There is both on-site and virtual experience, because we know some of you are either not comfortable or not yet able to travel. So there will be a virtual version as well. So if you're in, there's only like one or two tickets left.
Yeah, and don't forget that there is a flash sale that's going on for those of you who've been wanting to come in and join Skillz. This is the time. Melody is dropping literally almost to 70 or 80% off, something like that, the flash sale off the top of my head. Don't quote me, but you can get in touch with one of us. If you want to just go ahead, come in, join Skillz, and be a lifetime member for early and basic program. Okay, so this is lifetime membership special for the early and basic program.
Now, you didn't hear this from me, but this second half of this year would be a really good time to become a Skillz member before other things happen that make
with the Skillz.
Yeah. Just a really good time to become a Skillz member before January. I'm just going to lay that there.
Don't wait. Don't wait. And again, call us, text us, message us. We will give you all the information, and we'll work with you whichever way that suits your budget.
All right, everybody. Now we're way over time.
Yep. All right, guys.
We will see you around.
Go crush the rest of your week. Peace out.
Go get